the first thing I want to do is introduce you to a new data type, and it's a new complex data type. It's not a simple one, but we do use it an awful lot in Python, and it's very, very useful. So let's get rid of all of this, and I'm going to tell you what the data type is called. It's called a list. When you are in your exam, they might refer to it as an array. Now, it's not actually an array, so that is wrong. However, it's the closest thing that Python has to an array. I will explain arrays later using another language, and that will help you see the difference between a list and an array. So what am I talking about? Well, let's start off. First of all, let's get the shell, and we'll do it in the shell. So I can have a list. Let's call it my list. And a list has, or must have, a square bracket to begin with and a square bracket to end with. And between that we can have a list of items. So that there says my list is empty. Now if you remember, we also could have my string equals the empty string. These are two really, really useful concepts in programming: an empty list and an empty string. A lot of the time when we're trying to build a list, like a shopping list or a list of names or a high score table, we need to start off with an empty list and then build onto it. And we do the same with a string. We start off with an empty one and we add characters to the string. But I'm concentrating on lists here, so let's have a look at what a list is. My list. Now if I wanted a list of numbers up to 10, including 0, I would start off with open the square brackets, put in a 0 and separate each one with a comma. And there we go, I've got a list of numbers up to 10. Well, from 0 to 9 I've got 10 numbers. And I can just type my list and it will print those items out on the screen, and notice that they have got square brackets. Now if I want to add an item to my list, now that it's been created, I don't really want to go and keep adding things here. Like let's put a 3.5 between the 3 and 4. I'm not going to start by typing my list equals and then go 0, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 and so on. That is not very useful and wouldn't work in the program. But what I can do is add things to my list using a word called append. So I can do my list, which is, as you see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 9, and I can write dot append, and in round brackets what value I wish to append to my list. So there we go, I've added 3.5 to my list, and if I type my list I will see that I've actually added the 3.5 to the list, but notice where it was added. So append means at the end, always add something to the end, and that's exactly where it's been put. So that's the starter for my list, or for lists. And we're going to go through one or two routines with lists, in particular when we do cards. So I might have, for blackjack, a list of cards where I might have the ace of spades. Now notice I'm using a string here. Okay, I might have the ace of clubs, a 2 of hearts, which again is a string, it's not a number, and I'm representing the cards that I'm using with a letter for the value and a letter for the suit. Now I said letter, I've got a number here 2, but it's actually a letter, remember, because it's a string, so it's not the number 2, it's the character 2. So that is me setting up a set of cards. So if I was to type it out, cards, I've got my values for my cards.